Hey everyone, and welcome to July's edition of Board Game Buys. So in this series I talk about all the games that I've acquired over the last 30 days or so. So I actually only have 7 games to talk about this episode and 1 expansion, which is a big drop from previous months. But that's good for me because it gives me an opportunity to catch up on all the games I've yet to get to the table. Before I talk about the games I've acquired, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, Kienda.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer in the UK, and is actually the place where I picked up a lot of these games from. But let's get started with the games, and we're going to start with Anachrony, Valley of the Lakes. So this game is relatively unknown, and this was actually recommended to me by one of my subscribers who has generally done a fantastic job of recommending games that suit my tastes. Some great ones in the past, including Viceroy. But this one, I just thought, I'll give it a go. I'll have a look online, see how much it's going for. And I actually found a copy of this one for less than £10 on Amazon. So if you do live in the UK, or if you have access to Amazon UK, then maybe this is a good time to pick this one up because it is dirt cheap at the moment. But it looks like a rather simple tile placement game. I've not played this one yet. You're simply matching territory to territory, but you are placing these kind of tokens of your colour in different ways. Like you can place them on the borders and things to try and kind of up your influence in these different regions and try to collect points. And you've also got like a public, or I don't know if it's public or private objective system as well. Seems simple, seems like it's nothing terribly new, but who knows, it could work. And it looks like a pretty concise and simple game that could work for me. So I'm actually quietly optimistic about Anachrony, Valley of the Lakes. Also, I think this is a very delayed Kickstarter. We have the Shifting Seasons expansion for Villagers. This is actually my brother's game, and this one recently been delivered. I must admit, Villagers is a game that I'm lukewarm on at best. I think this one adds some modularity in terms of expansion content, so you can pick and choose how you want to affect the gameplay. But we haven't played it in a long time actually, Villagers, but this one could give it that little kick to get it back to the table to see if it's still worth keeping. Also, we picked up a copy of Robo Rally, so I believe this one is quite out of print, so this is a second-hand copy. And this is a very chaotic programming style game, as everybody is going to have a different robot, and you're going to be starting somewhere, and then you're going to be programming these movements based on these action cards, which might say, move forward twice, move forward 3 times, turn left, turn right, do a U-turn, that kind of thing. And you're going to be using those to try and hit these checkpoints, and the first to hit the 3 checkpoints is going to be the winner. However, inevitably, as you are programming things, you're going to bump into other people, you're going to push them, you're going to start messing with their programming, and you're going to be a bit of a subject to being affected by these conveyor belts and things that are on the main board. I have played this one once up to this point at a lower player count, so I definitely want to try it at the higher player counts before I make my mind up. But that is Robo Rally, something a bit different, but it's a shame about the box size of this one because it does not fit on any shelf whatsoever. But there you go, Robo Rally. Also, an older game here, a very old game to go back to the 90s. This is Quo Vadis by Rainer Knizia. So this is a very strange game, actually. I wanted to take a punt of this one because I kind of want to go through Knizia's back catalogue to see which ones are the best ones. This one I've heard good things about, actually. Certainly a change of pace from most of Knizia's like clever little card games and things. This one, you are actually trying to climb up these tracks and get your pieces to the Senate here. But this has a strong degree of negotiation as you need votes to move on through these tracks. And you can kind of make promises. Some of them are binding, some of them are not binding. And it just sounds like a bit interesting. And negotiation games for my group generally go down quite well. And this one could be a simpler version of a negotiation game and something a bit different, I suppose, to the negotiation games I currently have. So it's Knizia. Generally, I like Knizia games. Obviously, some I like more than others, but I've yet to have a real stinker, I suppose. But Quo Vadis, it appealed to me. I like the look of it. I like the setting and things. And again, another one I'm quite optimistic about, and hopefully I'll get that one to the table sooner rather than later. I also picked up Air, Land and Sea, Spies, Lies and Supplies. So this is the sequel, or it's kind of like a standalone expansion, I suppose, to the original Air, Land and Sea. And this one works mechanically in exactly the same way, i.e. you're playing cards to try and control these different theatres of war. But instead of having the Air, Land and Sea, this one you have intelligence, diplomacy and economics. And again, you're playing these cards ranging from 1 to 6. All of them have a special ability on them. And you're kind of flipping cards over, you're putting things in your favour, just trying to manipulate the board state, and it still has that amazing kind of point scoring system where you can fight to the bitter end, and if you lose and you fight to the bitter end, you're going to give your opponent a lot of points, or you can withdraw early and only give a few points away. So yeah, it is what it is. It's the next version of Air, Land and Sea. Very similar, but just different enough. And I've already played this one. I really do want to try what they call the epic mode, which is where you can actually mix this game and the original game over 5 theatres rather than the 3, and obviously get to play with 5 different decks of cards. So that sounds really interesting and really just up the tension and the scope for this clever little card game. The next game is Alice's Garden, which is a pretty simple polyomino puzzly style game. You're simply placing polyomino pieces on this very small grid, but on each of these squares on these polyomino tiles, you have a symbol on them, and they're all going to score in different ways. Obviously, you want to be placing things as optimally as possible, but a lot of the time your opponents are choosing the piece that you're putting on your board, or the shape of the piece, and then it goes into a bit of a draft, and then you're going to place them as as optimally as possible. Very restrictive. I have played this one once, but a simple little filler game that I want to play more of. So that's Alice's Garden. Also picked up a copy of Zapatek. I believe by the time this video is out, my review of Zapatek should be uploaded. You can probably tell here that I don't have the physical copy, and that will lead to some assumptions, I'm sure. But this one is the latest, or one of the latest, board and dice games. However, this one is not a Daniele Cini design, despite the visuals of this one. It's actually by Fabio Lopiano, who's known for games such as Kalamala and Merv. This one is a much simpler version of it, or at least a quicker version. This one only takes 60 to 75 minutes to play. You're trying to control a bunch of different regions by placing your buildings on them. It has quite a unique little card system, as each card you select, and there's only going to be 5 rounds, so each time you select one of these cards, it's going to determine the initiative in which you take your action. It's going to determine the region or the type of building that you can build, and it's also going to show which resources you get and potentially trigger a row or column of basically an engine of resources that you've built up throughout the game. So again, I'm not going to go any further than this one, but be sure to check out my review, because I believe I just uploaded it a day or 2 ago. So that is Zapatek. And the final game I acquired this month is Anachrony Essential Edition. So this one must be one of the most prolific games that you guys recommend to me all the time. You guys got a pretty good grasp of my taste by now, and you're saying, Dan, you need to try Anachrony. It's absolutely fantastic. So this time I did that. I got a hold of this one from Kienda. And this one is a pretty involved worker placement game. I don't know the intricacies of the rules at all yet, but I do know that you have different types of workers in this game, and all of them have their own strengths and weaknesses, so I suppose they can only go to certain worker placement spots. I believe there's some asymmetry as well, and it has this kind of almost like a time travel mechanism, which I've heard described as being a bit more like a loan system in actuality. But, high hopes. I've only ever heard good things about this one. I'm a bit fatigued in terms of learning heavy games at the moment, so maybe there might be a little bit of a delay for me to get this one to the table. But it's coming, it's on the horizon, and I'm glad I finally pulled the trigger and got this one into the collection. So that is Anachrony Essential Edition. So there we go. Those are the 7 games plus 1 expansion that I've picked up this month. And which one are you most looking forward for me to cover? And let me know what games you've picked up as well this month, because I always love to hear what you guys are playing. If you have enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to my channel, and check out my other content too. And for everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye bye.